Hello and welcome to episode 14 of Gardening with Ben podcasts. I hope you're all enjoying them by now. If you're new to the show, feel free to check back through my other podcasts of all my hints and tips on different ideas and different methods of planting. So in episode 14 today, we're going to be talking about tidying up your strawberry beds, as November is the perfect time to be tidying them up, getting them ready, and so that they'll be fantastic next year and hopefully produce a lot of fruit for you on your plot. So we're going to go back through that step by step and give you our hints and tips on tidying up your strawberry beds. So if you're following me on social media, you'll have seen that I'm in the process of tidying up my 3 strawberry beds. You can see them on Gardening with Ben on Instagram and my Facebook page. And on there, I'm having to move the 3 beds as they're in the wrong place. I'm redesigning the plot over the winter, so I'm having to move them anyway. But every year I tend to dig up all my strawberries and take up the black matting, what I've got down, the black porous matting, and dig it all over and start from scratch. So I'll explain the best tips and the methods, what I use for doing that with. So there's multiple ways that you can grow strawberries in your allotment or in your garden. And the 2 ways, what I know of, is you can either grow them in pots or you can actually grow them in the ground. Now, you can buy special strawberry towers where you put the strawberries in the side of the ceramic pot and the strawberries will grow down the pot and it'll look fancy in the garden, it'll look nice. But the only thing is with growing strawberries in pots is that in winter they'll be fine, but in spring and summer they will need to be kept watered, as with them being in a pot they won't be able to absorb as much rainfall in those pots. So when it gets to the hot weather, you will need to make sure you keep these watered every day. So you might not get as much fruit on them as you would do growing them in the ground. So the way that I grow them on the allotment is that I've got 3 beds marked out for my strawberry plants. I must have just started off with 1 bed to start off with, and I think I purchased like 24 strawberry plants online, but now I've got 3 beds which are massive and they're full of strawberries. I must have at least 300 plants. So you might think, why has he got 300 strawberry plants? But the thing is with strawberries is that they are so delicious growing your own strawberries, and with that amount of plants, I'm going down every day getting a bowl full of strawberries and eating fresh strawberries all through the summer, and it's well worth the investment. And every year the strawberries will send out runners off the plants, and they will create new plants, so you can then pot them on and have even more strawberry plants. So basically you're saving money by making more strawberry plants. And if you've got a friend who likes strawberries or a plot neighbour on the allotment, you can give them some of your strawberry plants and they will be so happy with you for that. Trust me. I've just given a load to my neighbour on his plot. He started last year and he tasted some of my strawberries and he thought they were delicious. So I've given him some of my plants to start off on his plot. So it's good to share stuff around on the allotment sites. So like I said, I grow mine in the ground. What I've done is I've purchased some black porous matting, and black porous matting is sheets of plastic which let the rain go through it, but the weeds don't grow through it, if you get me. It's got tiny little holes in to let the water seep through it, but the weeds can't get through it. So it keeps the weeds down as well. And planting them through that will keep the ground moist, as the sun won't get to the ground. So it'll keep it moist and damp which will encourage the strawberries to grow more, and the plants will be a lot healthier. And also, obviously, the weeds won't get entangled in the strawberry plants. If you haven't heard already, the place where I'm recording these podcasts is an app called Anchor, and it's totally free. They also put your podcasts on multiple platforms like Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. Straight away, you can also schedule the time that you want it to go on, which is fantastic. There's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer, so you can record your podcast literally anywhere you want. You can also make money from your podcasts as well, with no minimum listenership whatsoever. So the more times it gets played, the more times you can earn money from it. And there's everything you need to make your podcast all in one place. So if you download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm, you can get started with your free podcasts. So every year, like I said, I like to tidy up the strawberry plants. And what this means is that most of your strawberry plants will have sent out runners with new strawberry plants on them. By now, they should have rooted and they'll have created new strawberry plants. You can snip those off back to the strawberry plant, so you're snipping that long root out, what it sends with the plant on. Chop that back to the plant. I also cut off any diseased leaves, any dead leaves, or any leaves what are big and which will block the sunlight of the strawberries, because in March, April, the strawberry plants will send out more leaves and fresh foliage, so you can snip them back and tidy them all up. Plus, if you cut off the diseased leaves, it stops the diseases spreading to the other plants during the winter periods, and it'll start off basically a fresh plant for the year. So what I do is I take up all the black matting what's on the ground, what the strawberries are planted up in. I dig out all the strawberry plants and I dig over all the soil which the strawberries are planted into. I add some fertilizer, some chicken pellets to add to the soil to improve the soil and to help the strawberry plants. I will then dig over the soil and make sure that there is no weeds growing, even though it's got black matting on it. Sometimes you get a few odd weeds growing along. So I do all that. And basically I'm trying to improve the soil so that you get a better crop the year after, just in case the strawberry plants have taken up all the nutrients out of the soil. So that is one key thing that I do. And then what I do is I relay the black matting and I peg that down. Now you can get special black porous matting pegs, and they are quite expensive to buy. So what I use, a little tip here, is I go out and get tent pegs from my local supermarket. They sell like 12 tent pegs for 99p, and they are perfect. They won't rot, they won't snap, which a lot of porous matting pegs do because they're plastic. They'll snap. So these are metal tent pegs, and they'll keep it held down until you want to pull it back up again. So it's a lot more easier. Trust me, that is one tip that I'm letting you know. So I'll put the black porous matting down, and then what I'll do is I'll put compost back in every hole of where the strawberry plants are going to go. And it's not fresh compost I'll use, I'll just reuse the compost which I've used on my tomato plants, as there's still a bit of food left in the compost and it will improve the soil of where they're planted. So I'll put all the compost back in, and then what I'll do is I'll replant all my strawberry plants. Now some will have grown quite big plants, and you can actually divide them into smaller clumps, so then they'll grow bigger again. So I'll divide some of them up, and obviously I'll plant all the new runners which will have grown. I'll plant them back into the ground. But any plants that have died or don't look no good, I'll chuck them and use the new plants, as strawberry plants only last about 3 years. So it's good to keep putting new plants in every so often. So I'll replant them back into the compost in new beds to make it look good. And then in the springtime, after the winter, I will again put some more chicken pellets down on the strawberries to give them a feed before they start fruiting, and that will give them the kickstart they need in March, April. Now, when I've been tidying them up, I've been noticing, I know it's November, but I've got some flowers and some fruit on the strawberry plants. Don't leave them on. It'll take all the goodness from the plant, which you don't want. And trust me, they won't do anything, the strawberries or the flowers, on at this time of year. So it's pointless keeping them on. Trim all them off and get them back to the leaves for the winter. So basically, that is my little tips on how to tidy up the strawberry plants and to get them looking fresher for next year for a great crop. So I hope you've enjoyed that tips. So thank you for listening to today's podcast all about tidying up your strawberry plants. I hope you found the tips useful. Remember to follow me on my social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube, Gardening with Ben. Also, feel free to check out my website, which is in the link below the podcast in the description. It's www.gardenandallotment.com. That is where I share all my tips and my advice and my articles that I write up as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Make sure you click that subscribe button or follow button, whichever podcast stream you're listening on, and come back daily to listen to my other episodes. So thanks for listening, everybody, and remember, keep gardening.